Welcome back to the vlog. In this episode, it's a random comic book review. While I was back home for the holidays, I grabbed a decent portion of my comic books that I had at my parents' house, and I brought them back now that I am in a little bit more of a permanent situation and living-wise and have a little more room, and have been organizing and alphabetizing them. And I wanted to start going through and randomly reviewing some of the comics that I have. I'm going to randomly select an issue, talk about what I think happened and from my memory in this issue, then read it and give a brief review of what happened in the issues. And what came up was Runaways number 26, Volume 2. If you haven't read Runaways, is the basic premise of the comic. A bunch of kids found out that their parents were supervillains and ran away, and they slowly discovered that each of them had either superpowers or different abilities that they had access to, magic whatsoever. And in the second volume, this is right after, or if I'm remembering correctly, Joss Whedon took over the book from Brian K. Vaughan, and this is when the Runaways are in New York. I don't remember specifically what happens, but obviously from the cover, they're going to run into the Punisher. Here's a recap of the issue. Thankfully, they had a previously on page at the beginning, which kind of kept me back up to speed. The Runaways were in New York. They used their Pride connections and to talk to Wilson Fisk and ask to get some protection from the Superhero Registration Act. So this is kind of a Civil War tie-in, but it's not all over the cover, which was rare at this point in time for Marvel. And Wilson Fisk tells them to go steal something. As they're stealing it, the Punisher shoots them with a missile, because the Punisher. This issue starts the big fight. The Punisher, some winged guy who I don't remember at all. But big fight, the Runaways run away, as Nico literally says. The team comes back because they realize Chase wasn't there, and we get a fun moment of Molly guessing exactly what happens, and nobody believing her, and then Chase showing up out of the blue, and that's exactly what Molly predicted. It was, Old Lace grabbed him and saved him and skirted down the building. That was a fun little moment. Molly's really the only character that Joss Whedon kind of got the voice right for, so it was fun to give her little moments like that. But then here was a part of the issue that I really didn't like whatsoever, in the fact that Molly just completely punks out the Punisher, and clearly was supposed to punch him in the balls. They didn't let her do that in the art for some reason, and it was just a gut punch instead, and it's like, oh, I didn't know that he didn't have powers, and it's like, he's the Punisher, of course he doesn't have powers. And Molly feels guilty, which is pretty much a recurring trend. Like I said, Joss Whedon never really got the voices right. In the short time he was on the book, we find out that the item is something that Chase's parents invented using Gertrude's parents' future tech, which was a nice little way of hey, you basically had to steal something that was already yours? Question mark? And even the team's questioning that, but they're like, we don't know what this is. Why would the Kingpin make us steal something that's already ours? Screw this guy, we're just gonna leave. And they basically say that as the Kingpin shows up with a bunch of ninjas. So then another fight ensues. The ninjas stab Nico in the back, having her bleed, but that unlocks the Staff of One. She knocks out everybody, and then they use the device and teleport away to the 1800s. Fun cliffhanger. It was a fun issue. Like I said, you know, nobody in all of the subsequent runs really got the voices for the characters except for Brian K. Vaughan. The art was pretty fun. Mike Norton kind of became the fill-in artist towards the end of the Brian K. Vaughan run, and it's got a very similar look with Michael Ryan. And of course, the Joe Chen covers were always completely beautiful to look at. And that's it. Thanks everybody for watching. Make sure to like and comment and subscribe, and follow me at Knocked Out Films on all social media. And next week's topic for the photo: something metal.